Chapter 2. Why depression? That is the million-dollar question. You may say, why should I feel like this when I have a good job, a nice family, kind friends, etc.? The inference is that if you have these factors in your life, then you should somehow be immunized against ever feeling depressed. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be thankful for those people or for the benefits in having a good job. The Bible talks in many places about being thankful for all that God has given us, including homes, food, and relationships. Maybe you should take time this week to tell your friends or family how much you appreciate them. You could even tell your boss how much you enjoy working for him. You could also spend the next few moments writing down anything or anyone in your life for which you are thankful. But even with all these things in place, it is still possible to face depression. The truth is that people go through depression for many different reasons. There is never one single event which has caused every kind of depression for every single person, though there may be similar feelings common to most of us. You may have the kind of depression which occurs as a reaction to stressful life events such as divorce or relationship breakdown, illness, moving house, redundancy, or bereavement. One person's depression may be triggered by the fact that he now has no work and he had no choice in that decision. For another person, life was going along smoothly until he was promoted at work. Soon after the family celebrations and congratulations from colleagues were over, the awful reality set in. The new job means 3 times as much work, 80 emails a day from people chasing up reports, and no extra help to achieve the expected results. Equally, you could have had the kind of upbringing where you were made to feel that you never achieved anything, or that you were not as successful as your older, wiser, better-looking sister or brother. This may not have seemed to cause you too much of a problem as you were growing up. In other words, you kept your feelings well hidden as you were expected to do. But as the time has passed and other life events have conspired to make you feel unworthy, all these earlier feelings may have bubbled up to the surface and caused you to become depressed. Or you may have had the kind of family which failed to protect you as a child, and an older relative or family friend may have got away with abusing you, telling you it is all your fault, which it never is, or that bad things will happen if you tell anyone. So you either keep their secret with the resultant bad feelings hidden deep inside you for as long as you can, or you pluck up the courage to tell someone sometime and risk that the threat of bad things happening will come true. If you've had to carry this heavy burden with you throughout your childhood, and if now as an adult you still feel vulnerable, it is not too late to tell someone about it. Start by telling someone you trust, a family member who wasn't involved, your church minister, or a caring friend, and enlisting their support. It might surprise you to know that there have been people prosecuted in 2006 who were involved in the sexual abuse of children 20 years before. They thought they got away with it, but now they've received a long prison sentence, and the victims have finally been able to move on and build a more positive future. If you have ever been a victim of this kind of abuse, only you know if this is something you can consider revealing many years after the event. If you decide to go ahead and tell someone, then you should know that there are many more helpful organisations available to you now than you would have been aware of as a child. It is almost certain that your story will be believed, so that you will not be blamed for whatever took place, even if your abuser was a well-respected member of the community. If you have no one to confide in, you might want to phone the Samaritans. Even talking to someone who is non-judgmental and confidential might be a valuable experience for you. There is another group of people who struggle with depression on a regular basis, caused by seasonal affective disorder, SAD for short. These people go downhill usually when the winter comes around and there are fewer hours of sunshine or bright light, which is necessary to produce certain chemical reactions in the brain. If you can recognise this happening to you most winters, then there are some practical steps you can take. such as buying a light box so that you can sit and read or work in a high degree of bright light for a couple of hours each day. You could also consider having your main holiday in the winter time. Whilst things are gloomy in February in England, you'll discover a whole world of sunshine waiting for you in places such as the Canaries or the Caribbean. Plus, winter holidays or flight prices tend to be much cheaper, so you might be able to afford to stay longer. You may think a holiday is a faraway place is an expensive luxury, but you might be pleasantly surprised at how reasonable a price can be, especially if you're able to take advantage of a last-minute deal. Also, if every winter the quality of your life is so poor that you barely function or are unable to do paid work, a holiday break may seem less of a financial liability if it then allows you to carry on with your life for the rest of the year. Viewed even from a feel-good factor alone, a break in the sun may be just what the doctor ordered if you are one of this group of people. There are other depressed people who may have been raised by the kind of parents who always had a very negative view of life. They may have been unable to make friends easily and always lived with the feeling that their glass is half empty rather than the more positive view than the glass is half full. If you have lived through this kind of upbringing, much of this negative thinking will have become embedded in your thought patterns and your approach to life. But you can unlearn things given the right kind of help. The Bible talks in Romans chapter 12 verse 2 about the possibility of being transformed by the renewing of your mind, rather than continuing to live according to the patterns laid down by this world or even the patterns laid down by your parents. If you are a Christian, you live by different standards, you have different expectations and a different spirit, and above all you are in a relationship with the Creator God who is for you. He is working things out for you in spite of how you are feeling right now, for the scripture says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8 verse 28. Be careful about the words you use each day, not only about other people, but also about yourself. In Proverbs 18, verse 21, we read that the tongue has the power of life and death. The negative words you use about your situation can cause your feelings to become even blacker as you speak. For instance, if you are approaching unforced and unwelcome retirement from work, and you speak to your friends and neighbours on a daily basis about being thrown on the scrap heap, don't be surprised if every day it becomes harder to get out of bed. A more positive view might be that now you could plan to have some time doing what you want to do, rather than being governed by the alarm clock. You could travel to places you've always wanted to see, or even take up a new hobby. You can ask your church minister if there's any aspect of your church's outreach programme that could do with an extra pair of hands. You might even become the one who initiated a new fair trade cafe at your church. Of course, there are people for whom retirement must contain some kind of work, either from a financial or just a practical viewpoint. The good news is that not all employers take the view that if you're over 50, you're over the hill. Many more enlightened employers are finding out that taking on employees in the 50-plus age group brings a wealth of experience as well as reliability and good customer care skills. Current anti-ageism policies presently being implemented make it illegal for employers to reject older people from employment purely on age grounds. Hopefully these laws will in time mean even more work opportunities for those aged 50 plus who wish to continue working. So if work is a necessity for you, make sure you explore all the possibilities out there. Make each day a job-seeking day, whether you approach local DIY stores or consider getting a job as a live-in caring companion in another part of the country. Before accepting a long-term assignment in another part of the country, however, you should check out whether there is good church nearby and whether you will be able to take time off on Sunday to attend. Some non-Christian organisations have the idea that Sunday is just another work day, and since church attendance is not important to them, it should not be an option for you. If you have a tendency towards depression on a regular basis, it will not help you to be out of your usual church family with no other means of support nearby. You could also consider approaching a recruitment agency and applying for temp work. Most agencies, especially those in city centres, need a ready supply of experienced and willing workers on a regular basis. Age is not usually a problem when it comes to temp work. Reliability is as important as suitability, and older people are often amongst the most reliable members of society. Whether you are a legal secretary, a forklift truck driver, or just willing to be a warehouse packer, there is sure to be someone who would welcome your skills. You could register with several agencies and eventually choose to work with the one that is able to offer the regular assignments you enjoy most. If you are unskilled, you could opt to do voluntary work, whether helping in a charity shop, hospice, hospital, or outdoor conservation program. If working on a paid or voluntary basis doesn't appeal to you, there is sure to be some kind of group meeting on a regular basis for those over 50 or for those who are interested in the environment or dancing or whatever appeals to you. A visit to your local library might be a good source of information to discover what is happening in your area. Whatever the reason for your particular state of mind, whether there is a single reason for your depression, or whether it's caused by an accumulation of overwhelming life events, the main question you ask should not only be how did this happen to me, or even how did I get in such a state. The most important thing is that you allow yourself the opportunity to ask, how can I get better? As we discovered in Chapter 1, the most important thing is that you get the professional help you need to discover why you are feeling depressed, how you can get better, and how you can help prevent it happening again. It might help if you keep a diary, writing down your thoughts and feelings about your past, childhood experiences you remember, and how you dealt with the different events that happened. When you do eventually get to see a counsellor, you might then have some idea of the things in your past which cause you distress and how you might best be helped to move on from that in the future. As this is happening during COVID, if you feel so bad that you want to really throw in the towel, why not give the Samaritans a call if it's serious, and they will be willing to help you.